How much discipline does it take to do 4 or more playthroughs of Skyrim? How much discipline does it take for you to research your build in Elden Ring, or like do more research on the lore, or look up different, item paths, or like weapon upgrades and all these things? It feels like it doesn't cost anything. And that's the kind of trick that game designers get us into. It's so easy to be disciplined in games, but for your real life, can you say the same thing? Oh my god. Did you just think that? Did you just think that discipline is easy in games because they're fun? Dude, you... Elden Ring, the Souls series. Dude, even Skyrim can be frustrating sometimes. If you think that discipline is easy because games are fun, I'm gonna be honest, there's like no hope for you. What you don't understand is game design. Game design is the reason why these things seem easy. It's the reason why you're willing to put up with grinding for hours. Like, you go to the same spot in Elden Ring to get more souls. You want to level up your character, so you do the same thing in the same spot over and over again. And while you're doing that, you're engaged, but you're not like, haha, this is so fun, pressing the same button, going to the same thing, respawning the enemies, blah blah blah. It's not fun. But the discipline is easy because you know if you do that, you will get a certain result out of it, and that result is ultimately what you're going for, and you know a system to use to get that result. We have to understand life as its own game, the hardest game that you will ever play in your life. And so we need really thoughtful design for our lives. We can't just take these game elements that are in games where a game designer has spent years developing those systems for that specific game, and then just being like, oh yeah, we can take this, drop it into life, and life will be so much easier and we won't have to deal with hard things. That is not what this channel is about, or what I'm talking about. Because discipline is doing something you know you need to do, even if you don't feel like you want to do it. And I know there's been so many times in games where you know you have to do something and you still do it even though you feel like you don't really want to do it. Like, how many League of Legends players don't actually want to play League of Legends, but they still play it? That was me for so long. And one of the biggest reasons why gamers get stuck into that trap is because game designers design their games around core principles like the flow state, giving you enough of a challenge that you don't get bored of it, but not giving you too hard of a challenge that you feel like you can't do it at all. They also give you things like very tangible progression. You kind of know exactly what you need to do to get a certain result. One way that game designers can engage a flow state in you is by using different areas of difficulty. So when you're in Skyrim and you're in the starting area, the enemies that you can tackle are really simple. And if there is a big enemy like that bear you find in the cave, you're actually supposed to go around it. The game doesn't encourage you to try and tackle it. And so you get these obstacles to show you what you can and can't do, and it's very thoughtful game design that kind of nudges you to all these directions. And if you try to go to like some really random part of the map, first of all, the level is shown to you in a way that it's pretty obvious the straight path that you need to go. And the thing is, you know that if you go out of that path and start exploring a random area of the map, you know that you're going to run into things that you're not really supposed to go into. And so if you're learning a new skill, from as complicated as learning how to code or as simple as learning how to cook, you want to put yourself in the starting area. You don't want to give yourself the challenge of coding a whole app, or you don't want to give yourself the challenge of cooking a whole Michelin star dish. You want to start with something simple. Because what can happen, especially with something as weightlifting, is that you see these guys who are like, let's say like level 100. You see these guys with like absolutely like jacked physiques, and they do these like really hard workouts, and you're like, damn, I want to get that body. If I just do his workouts, I can probably get the same result. And so what you're going to end up doing if you live a life by default is that you just copy what they have at the level they're at, and you think that you can already achieve that. Whereas if you were the game designer of your own life, you would realize that actually you need to force yourself to start at level 1, because you don't know whether you can actually achieve the amount of work that person has had to build up towards by, grinding in the gym, leveling up their character. You have to start that same progression at level 1 and go through the levels linearly to prove to yourself that you can keep up with all the work it will take to build the amount of muscle that you want, to build the physique that you want. And that idea in itself is discipline. If we take the book Atomic Habits, you could start yourself the atomic habit of going to the gym 6 days a week. And that would look like discipline. But the thing is, you know that you probably can't achieve that yet. And so the more disciplined thing to do would be to start at level 1. And level 1 should sound so stupid that if you told your friend, like, my level 1 for going to the gym is doing 1 set of 1 exercise every week for the next month. And they would laugh at you. They're like, dude, you're never going to build the amount of muscle that you want to build if you do that. And they say to you, like, I'm going to go to the gym and show you how it's done. I'm going to use my discipline and I'm going to go 6 times a week. And I'm going to prove to you that this is how you build discipline. And the difference between this guy, let's call him Dom. Dom is on default mode. He thinks that he can just take this idea of going to the gym 6 times a week. And the other guy is Derek. He's a designer. He understands that he has to go through the levels linearly, like a game, to prove to himself that he can hit level 50 by going through all the 49 levels previous to that. And so on the first week, default Dom goes to the gym 6 times a week, and he catches up with Derek, the designer, and he's only gone to the gym once in the whole week and has only done 1 set of 1 exercise. And he's like, dude, I'm gonna get so much more jacked than you. You have no idea. You're wasting your time. Bro, you need to be more disciplined. Be like me. But what happens is that in the next week, Dom has a uni assignment. Dom also has work. He's late at sleep. He had an argument with his parents or his girlfriend or whatever. He only skips 1 day out of the 6, so he's done 5 workouts. But Dom, he has to admit to Derek, the designer, that he actually skipped a day and he didn't really use his discipline, but he's still gonna smash it for the next week. So now we're on to the 3rd week, and Dom is really feeling the effects of all of this pressure that he has to keep up with the routine that he said he would stay disciplined to. But he's had this lack of sleep. He's got a lot of pressure from both work and uni to keep up with these things, and he doesn't know how he's going to do it. So he goes for the first 3 days, but then on the 4th day, he kind of realized, like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm so tired. And he actually excuses himself from going. He says, you know what? I'm just going to take this day off. I've done way more than Derek. He doesn't even know what he's up to. I'm going to take this day off and recover for the next one, and I'll get it done. And so he goes to Derek on the 3rd week and he's like, bro, you've literally only done like 3 workouts in these 3 weeks. And I've done at least 5 times that. And he's saying, you really should come to the gym with me as much as I am. But Derek understands that he's going through a design mode. He knows that he has to prove to himself that he can consistently hit all of these days in the week without 1 single failure before he can level up and move on to the next stage. And so they split ways, and Dom goes home that night, but he has an argument with his parents that keeps him awake the whole night. And again, the next morning he's sleep deprived, and he's also forgotten his pre-workout. He doesn't have it, and he approaches the gym and he's like, you know what? I've still done so much more than Derek. I'm gonna skip this day, but I'm gonna go the next day. And what happens to Dom on the 4th week is really surprising, but also really predictable. He doesn't go to the gym once on that whole week because he has this massive uni assignment that has been due for so long, and he's also got his part-time job and he can't keep up with all the drama in his family and all these kind of things. And then he catches up with Derek, who had to deal with pretty similar things, and he actually went once. So in a way, Derek, the designer, is winning in this. He has stayed more consistent. Derek did his 1 set of 1 exercise and he kept to it. And he also was able to do his uni assignment on time. He was also to show up to his work and deal with those family drama problems. And what happens to Dom by the 5th week? He's convinced himself that he doesn't have the right training program. He goes back to the drawing board. He's like, you know what? I just got the wrong thing. I need to look for like the next hack. And he explains to Derek, like, there's like this hack to getting jacked, dude. Like, you don't understand. You have to have like the specific workout program, and you have to have all of these things before you start. And he tells him, like, you still don't know what you're doing. You're just doing 1 exercise 1 day of the week. Like, you're not going to make any progress. And as months go by, Derek the designer is still at the gym, whereas Dom has given up. He just scrolls YouTube videos of guys working out all day, but he doesn't actually go anymore. He's just trying to desperately find that next hack that can get him the kind of motivation that he needs to be able to go to the gym. And now Now Derek, 3 months ahead, is now going to the gym 2 times a week, and he's also doing 2 exercises. And this is all because he intentionally designed how he was going to start learning this new skill of discipline. And if you take it back to game design philosophy, think of how hard the game designer restricts you from trying to do extremely complex things right out the gate of the game that you get. So one of my favorite games is God of War, and you start off as Kratos, but all you have is your axe. You don't have the Blades of Chaos, you don't have many things that are available to you, and even though you have the Leviathan axe, you're not able to do all of these crazy combos. They drip feed all of these things to you because you have to prove that you can use the basic attacks of the axe and the basic combos that you have before the game designer lets you do more and more complex things. Because imagine if the game designer didn't give you all of those artificial restrictions. Imagine if he just gave you all of the best armor, he just gave you all of the skill tree combos that you could unlock, and he was like, okay, there you go, try and learn how you're going to tackle all these enemies. And you're like trying to desperately figure out which combo does what and all these things, and you're like so overwhelmed and confused because the game hasn't been designed for you. And this is exactly how we need to think about life. Life is not only a game that you play, it's a game that you need to design. And the principle of starting at level 1 is one of the most easiest ways to build discipline really fast as the game designer of your own life. And to other people, it's going to look stupid, but these people don't know how to think long term. And that is why your love for gaming is your greatest advantage in life, and that is how you will get ahead of them. But just remember that the knowledge you consume is only as valuable as the systems that you use to implement it. If you want to get the practical insights on how to build habits like discipline and so many more from gamers that you would look up to, like Alex Hormozi, Dr. K, Ali Abdaal, even Hamza as the next gamer, I made a video on the 5 habits of highly successful gamers who became millionaires. And I found the 5 key habits that separated them from the rest. You can watch it in the link over here.